Hi, I'm Jim Gordon with another edition of Richmond Stories. Well, this one takes us to Westwind Elementary School here in Richmond. And the story itself begins back in 2021 when one of the teachers at the school, Carlos Victoria, contacted the Sentinel to see if we'd be interested in covering a very cool story. It's about art and comics, the students and the teachers, and we're going to find out more about it when we go inside on this edition of Richmond Stories. Well, as you can see now, we're inside Westwind Elementary. Carlos Victoria could not join us today, but we've got Richelle Walliser, who was kind enough to fill in to talk about this great program. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that I'm here and that you came here today.
Well, it's great to hear about this program, which you're going to explain. And as I said, thank you for jumping in here. I said to you when I first came into the classroom, I said, where was this kind of setup and program when I was a kid, which was many decades ago. But I love what the kids are doing. I really was excited to see what they're doing. You talk all about this great program because it's fantastic.
And so Carlos was doing Comic-Con for the last 10 years. And I think that Richmond as a district has brought a lot of innovative teaching and learning in. And so I think what they have been doing is they've been creating comics, and they have a big Comic-Con, and they can vote on each other's comics. They talk about which ones they like the best. There's the most creative, there's the most colorful, and those kinds of things. But what I find so awesome is coming in here as a guest, like I can feel, and I think you can feel too, the energy in that room. There is so much joy and excitement and engagement in what they're doing. And I think that this kind of thing leads to that joy so much more so than like a worksheet or like learning about grammar on a piece of paper. They're collaborating, they're thinking creatively, they're happy to be doing it. And so it made me really happy to come in here today.
It made me happy and was pleasantly surprised to see how talented these kids are. Everybody to a T was all doing great stuff. And what's interesting is that it seems to, when you see this on the front lines as a teacher, it brings out the creativity. Some kids may not be as artistically talented, but they excel in this part of the equation.
That is such a good point, right? And so I do think that part of this is Carlos' amazing teaching, right? He is such a great teacher, and I think I can see all over the classroom, there's books on how to draw, there's different examples that you can use, different styles. And so he's bringing this in because he can see a way to connect with every student in his classroom. And I also think, to connect a little bit with what you're saying too, is that it's a great opportunity for kids. Like some kids might struggle with writing, right? And so if you're to give them a traditional essay to write, it's going to be hard for them. But you can tell an entire story without words, right? If you have those comic panels, you don't need to be writing words at all, and you can be successful. And I think that is such an important thing that we want for every kid in Richmond.
Yeah, I would say as a film critic a lot of years, the best short I saw last year was an anime short, hand-drawn, not one word in it. And it was about 10 minutes long. It was beautiful. So you're right, the pictures, the visuals are always great. As I mentioned earlier, this has been around for 10 years. We'll call it the mini Comic-Con because the major Comic-Con is a major business around the world. And I love this. It said that a few super engaged students really came and asked Carlos, let's do something. So it was a great collaboration between the students and Carlos, the teacher.
Okay, and this is another thing, and I think there is a lot of good evidence about it as well, is like listening to the students, like listening to what your students are passionate about and taking the lead from them. And actually as an educator, well, I wasn't doing this in particular, like having that space to listen to my students and kind of take the lesson where they lead it has made me so much more passionate about my work. And I think I found so much more joy in it because we're kind of like in it together. And then my job as teacher is to know the curriculum inside and out and scaffold that curriculum for them. So even coming in as a guest, like I can see how like these comics, I could talk about grade 3 language arts outcome, which is language and story can be a source of creativity and joy, right? Or like text can teach us about each other and our communities and ourselves. I can see how it connects to ADST. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's called Applied Design Skills and Technology. And a lot of it is about like the design cycle. So they're trying out a comic, they're like, oh, that didn't really tell the story the way I wanted. We're going to make it, we're going to change it in a way, we're going to share it, we're going to make it better. Actually, it's on my shirt right now. So like they might empathize like what kind of stories need to be told, right? They're going to define what they're going to do. They get their ideas, they make a prototype, they make it, they share it, and then they go back and re-empathize and they make it better each time. And I can see how that's also connected to growth mindset mindset, which we know is like such an important thing for our own mental health.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I could also see how you could draw like art into this part. You could draw the core competencies like creative thinking, communication, collaboration. I can also see how like a lot of social studies, how we talk about identity and community and perspective and how all that can be drawn into comics. You could even like be measuring your panels or like talking about different ratios of different panels and how that affects the story. Like a really big panel, like say who is twice as big as a smaller panel, will be like a more important part of that story. And so you can bring all these parts of the curriculum into this piece that is bringing so much joy to these kids. And that's the part that I think is so amazing.
And it's great too, because I'm just reading through some notes here too about the entire process takes about 9 weeks. Students creating a number of comics, then proposing 2. The rest of the class voting, there's all that done, and then other students from grade 3 to 7 nominate their favorite comics for individuals, most original story, and coolest character.
Yes.
I mean, this is all just great stuff.
Yeah, and I know that you were saying that you would have loved to do this as a child, that you wanted to like draw comics. I'm thinking to actually this comic book, it's called Dog Man. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the author was just like you. Yeah. You know, he did not sort of fit in the classroom. He was always kicked out of class. Not that you were kicked out of class, but just he was kicked out of class. Okay, he was kicked out of class. Yes. And you know, he's always up to mischief. And then his teacher said, "You can never, you know, do this for a living. Like, do something else." And he has written comic books that honestly, I wasn't into comics, but my son started reading them, and they're hilarious. Yeah. And it just shows how, like, you know, maybe like the knowledge that children have about where they need to go and what they need to learn. Yeah. And so, you know, I wish that that child had had a teacher who supported him and was like, hey, like there's some beauty in this, and you can, you know, let's bring the curriculum to you rather than trying to drag you to this way of teaching and being that was really made like 200 years ago.
Oh yeah, no. And you just pegged it. I'm going to end on this note. I was sitting with some friends recently, and we're all older, but we were talking about all of us had 1 or 2 great teachers, and it didn't matter what age or, you know, what grade, but we all remembered those 1 or 2 teachers' names. So it's great that you, Carlos, we wish well for putting this together, because it's just a great thing. I'm now going to go someplace in uncharted waters for an interviewer like myself into that class to talk to one of the kids about this great event. Well, Richelle has led me into Carlos's class. One of the students was chosen to create the mascot for this Comic-Con, and a real pleasure to welcome Olive. Hi, Olive.
Hi.
There you go. All right. Okay, you were chosen to create the mascot by your classmates. Is that right?
Yes.
And so you created this. Tell us about what you created here.
I created a bookworm. I think it represents our class good because class loves reading comics.
Yeah.
And the glasses on the worm represent Mr. Victoria, our teacher.
Okay. And how long did this take you to make this?
To make both of them, 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would take me 2 days. You are very talented. Well done. Do you want to be an artist when you grow up?
I don't know.
You don't know? You should, I think, actually. Okay, well, listen, we will let you get back to your classroom, because I also noticed that lunch is coming up very soon, and that's very important. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I like to thank the small group of people that helped me like get ideas for the mascot and helped me get accessories for it, like the book and the hair.
Okay. And who are those people? Do you want to say their names?
Kendall, Georgia, Atlas, Jackson, and Holly.
All right. Well done. Good need to thank them. Okay, here we are. It's a wonderful story, and you can also read about it in the Richmond Sentinel. Thank you, Olive.